Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Big Cozy. I'm here with the right hand man, the right hand of God, Saint Kitsch, Saint Picasso. And when I mean God, I mean the African God. I mean the one that's with the universe. Big Cozy, formerly known as the Tribal Chief. Now you're looking at the African deity, and that's me. You're looking at me. Shouts out to Spence. Spence, let these people, Spence, let these people know who you are, even though they should already know who you are, and let them know what to do for episode 99.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? You know, like my man said, it's Spence, otherwise known as Saint Kitsch, otherwise known as not the tribal chief, but the measuring stick of the culture. The guy that'll let you know if it's right or wrong, up or down, or trust me, your opinion doesn't matter. But nonetheless, I can't complain. Everything's been good. It's episode 99. We're well, this is the last one before we're in before everything's 3 digits from now on. So yeah. I can't really trip, man. I think anybody that's been following us up until this point, I really do appreciate you for listening, being able to just be a part of the journey. And also, if you just are new to the journey, make sure to check us out on our Instagram at the Highly Advised Podcast. Yep. You can also check us out on Twitter, where we give our thoughts, some posts and everything like that, which is Advised Highly, or you can even go check us out on YouTube, which is the Highly Advised Podcast. But other than that, that's the main thing that I would tell people that are just listening in. Other than that, though, man, I can't complain. I'm doing great. Shout outs to my guy, Relaxing Jackson, Hill Jackson, otherwise known. Of course, he's still in character development. So he's out there getting the training to be the best Hill he can be. Yeah. Hopefully he'll be back pretty soon. Yeah. Just like we are every week. He'll be back here next week, if anything, or when we return. But other than that, man, how's everything been for yourself?
Man, everything has been good. The past week has been a busy week for the African goddess states, but everything has been great. Can't complain. I would like to say that the next couple of weeks should be great and can't complain. I would like to say the next couple of months should be great. I can't complain. I would like to say the next couple of years is going to be great and I can't complain.
So more vibes, man.
Man. That's how you have to do it. So, of course, listeners, this is episode 99, free 99. Everything is free, but what we put out is not free. So we must charge you upwards of $99 to beyond. So we'll see. But I can't complain, man. I really can't. Complaining obviously doesn't do anything for you. But what I will say is just that I was thinking about it the other day, man. The life that we have, man, it's really, 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 really much better than the average person. And this is not to brag or nothing like that, but I knew Spence probably a decade or a little more than a decade now, listeners. Yeah. And we used to work at said retail store doing shit that we thought was bullshit, but we had to do it because we were young guys making pennies on the dollar and trying to make our way and live our future, right? So look at us now. Now we're in much better positions. And I'm trying to be like him, pretending to be broke, but sometimes it's hard to not be a little flashy. So, but I'm working on it to be a lot more, to appear a lot more broke so people don't bother me. So,
yeah. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. You saw that, right?
Yeah, I did see that. But it worked out with the aesthetic.
Yeah. Nah, that's the fact. But nah. Yeah, man. Like you said, it's free 99 this episode, but at the same time, life couldn't be any better. We're not taking those shorts around this way. Life couldn't be any better. Like you said, knowing each other over a decade now, we've all came a long way from when we first met. And I'm not gonna lie to you, seeing where we met each other at and where we are now only gives me nothing but happiness in terms of where we're all headed towards. Because, man, listen, there's a story in a story when it comes to that. When it comes from the humble upbringings we've had. So
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
yeah,
Absolutely. I'm
yeah.
proud of you, and I'm proud of Relax and Heal Jackson, because you guys really, really worked hard to be where you're at today. And I know you guys going to continue to work hard to be even in a much better position in the future. So definitely, definitely, definitely keep busting your guys' asses. You guys are already doing an amazing job. You guys are like an inspiration. If you and Naja were a tag team, you guys should be called the inspiration. The exception, the standard. You know what I'm saying?
One half is the measuring stick.
Yeah.
The standard is one half the measuring stick, one half the Hill Jackson, man. Like,
there we go. The standard. That's it.
yo,
You guys
listen,
are the standard.
yo, listen, man, listen, and trust me, we got it's a rotational tag team because you got to be in it also. The tribal chief got to be included because when it's all said and done, like they say, you are the company you keep when it's all
Yeah.
said and done. So it just as much as you can highlight one of us, it's the same that goes your way, brother. Because trust me, man, we all have seen we literally met each other before we had hit those next steps in our lives, or the next things we were planning to do, or the next steps to get to where we are. It was right before that. So yeah, man, it's always beautiful. Like I said, it's always beautiful seeing the people that you've been around, that you care for and love, seeing them progress and actually do something better with their lives, and just never being stagnant overall. So
Yeah.
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 But I'm not sure if you had a chance. Did you check out the playoffs, the NBA playoffs recently?
Yeah, man. So I'm gonna be real, listeners. I didn't watch Game 6 or Game 7 of the Boston Celtics versus Miami Heat. I caught highlights. I was doing other things that were vastly more important. Um, but what I will say is, I did pick Boston to win the series by the time Game 6 happened. I was a little surprised they lost Game 6, but the fact that they won Game 7, it's like, okay, it is what it is. And credit to Jimmy Butler, because I read that he played all 48 minutes of the game, scored 35. He really wanted to win. Shouts out to him. Hopefully Miami could get him some help, because no player, whether you're the option one or star, shouldn't be playing 48 minutes unless it is for the NBA championship. What I will say, though, is I am picking the Golden State Warriors to win game 1 against the Boston Celtics. I think, listeners, by the time this episode officially drops and you are listening to it, I think that'll be the same day that game 1 starts. So
Yep.
my quick prediction on it is Golden State will take game 1.
But yeah, so similar to your take, I do see the Warriors actually winning the game 1, and I do believe game 1 is the same day, airs the same night as this recording gets put out. I just see the Golden State Warriors ending up winning game 1. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up winning the series overall, just because of Golden State being who they are. Don't get me wrong. I think when you have a team like the Celtics, they are pretty stacked, and they are stacked enough to actually compete. But when it's all said and done, the Warriors are kind of stacked, definitely even coming off the bench with someone like Pooh, for instance.
Yeah.
So it's going to be they're going to have a lot stacked up against them if they do want to try to come out with a win for the NBA Finals this year, referring to the Celtics. But as far as I have it right now, I'm going with the Golden State Warriors. But
Yeah.
but outside of that, outside of just the NBA, there were a couple other things that happened in sports this week. The one that I think we all have been waiting for, which was the boxing match between Gervonta Davis and Rolly Romero.
I know listeners are going to be like, damn, you brothers supposed to be tuning into the sports. Don't worry, listeners. We tune into sports, but sometimes life needs balance. I didn't watch the Tank versus Rolly fight. And partly why I didn't watch it, I wasn't going to spend $80 on watching a one fight main event show. What I will say though is I did see the highlights because people plastered it all over Twitter and Instagram and wherever you guys get your social media content, you would have seen it too. Um, Tank, it looked like Tank was baiting him in before the KO. Now I predicted that Raleigh was going to get KO'd, and you did as well, Spence. I said within 8 rounds. You said within 6, I believe. And you were right on the money on it. It was within 6 rounds. And I was trying to read like box scores. I was trying to read people who actually watched the fight and like how they scored the rounds. It seemed like they were saying, hey, there was an argument that you could say that Raleigh won all the rounds due to him just being the more busy fighter. But at the same time, it was more or less of Tank was setting up traps and baiting him in, thinking that he was having the upper hand before the KO. And I could see that because if you watch a lot of Tank fights, you see that he's not really the most active boxer. Yeah, he'll get his punches in, his power punches in, but Tank is more of like a counter boxer. You know, he's patient, he's waiting for the openings, and when it happens, boom. And when he hits hard. That's
Yeah.
why it was a little surprising before this KO of Raleigh when he went the distance for Isaac Cruz. Some people were kind of like, damn, that fight was a lot tougher than what everybody thought. But with that being said, I don't want to be a party pooper. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. But fuck it, Tank should have knocked this dude out. This dude Raleigh, prior to the Tank fight, he was a no name. Unless you were a diehard in boxing, unless you were a diehard Raleigh Romero fan, he wasn't a notable guy. Tank should have knocked this dude out. Now for Raleigh, shouts out to him because he helped sell the fight. He was talking so much shit. So by the time he has another fight, that means, hey, we could sell this guy because he knows how to talk shit and get people's attention. So with his next fight, we'll just tune to see if the guy's a real deal or he's just a shit talker. Tank, he needs to fight like a Ryan Garcia and Lomachenko, even though that fight probably won't happen. The winner of Devin Haney and George Kambosos, even though that won't happen. He needs to fight a top lightweight guy. Maybe do the rematch for Isaac Cruz because Isaac Cruz just won his last fight after losing to Ted. Whatever. He needs to fight more stiff competition now. No more of these no-name guys. If Tank wants people to take him seriously and believe, and who am I to say it? Tank is selling out pay-per-views. But what I'm saying is, if he wants to gain the respect for the boxing community, he needs to start knocking out or just at least boxing the more stiffer and top competition of his weight class.
Yeah. So I do agree with you definitely in that regard where it comes to fighting the higher level of competition. What I will say is with Rolly, I know he was actually the one that called Tank out for this fight. He was the one begging for this fight. Apparently, I did a little bit more digging and I saw where Rolly had been asking for this fight for past 3 to 4 years. Apparently, prior to this fight, he was 14-0, 12 of them coming from knockouts. But the majority of those fights, all are fights that are no name guys for the most part. So it doesn't really validate much. But I'll say this: I did have a chance to watch the fight. I did see where I could see how some people would score Rolly having more of an advantage in the fight just because he was being more of the aggressor. But at the same time, I do agree. There were moments where you could tell Gervonta Davis was just doing nothing but trying to set Rolly up for the knockout, just because you could tell at certain points in the fight, and this is kind of where Rolly ends up getting knocked out. But earlier in the fight, his style is somewhat unorthodox to a point where he was leaning in trying to get body shots, and he's leaning in trying to get body shots with the left hand, kind of leaving himself open. And even at certain points, when Tank is making him miss, he's actually stumbling forward in certain cases. Rolly had a different style, but he had a different style. He was really trying to knock Tank out, which we all know when you're hunting for that power shot, you're more than likely going to leave yourself open. Now, what I will say is on the good side of what Romero was doing, though he was being somewhat of an aggressor, he did catch Tank a couple of times. And Tank even following the fight, and I believe he even said it within his corner, Romero did have power and he was pretty strong as a fighter. So I think that may have been the cause of delay for Tank to get him up out of the fight, because Rolly was he was much bigger of a fighter. He was trying to really press. He was trying to press Tank. You could tell his whole thing was just, if I can knock him out, I'm gonna get him. And when you got two fighters that are essentially known for having power and knocking somebody out, and someone like Tank getting caught and realizing, okay, the guy got, after the first punch he landed, Tank said, oh, I can tell, oh, he has power. So he probably had to change up his game plan. But I think for me, only round that I have Romero winning is round 2. Outside of that, I think there were some close rounds. 3, I believe 3 was a 3. I had Tank winning. Round 1, I could have seen if that was a close round by some. Still gave it to Tank though. And pretty much the majority of those rounds I gave to Tank, other than round 2. Romero did say after the fight, well, before I even get to that, the one thing I did not like from the fight was after the fight was over, Rolly had gotten knocked out. And I think it was a good stoppage. If the ref had kept it going, it would have been horrible. He had Bambi legs at that point. Instead of typically when they have to announce the winner, Rolly had actually left the ring before they could announce the winner. So to me, I felt like that was a little bit of poor sportsmanship, but you could tell he was still out of it. Other than that, I think at this point, the person that Gervonta Davis needs to fight is, like you said, is real to me, is really either Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney right now, which who knows if they can happen. Of course, I saw Ryan Garcia running around talking about, oh, I want to fight. I want to fight him next because he was in attendance at the fight. If that ends up happening, that'd be great. But as of right now, I think Tank just needs to see he needs to fight just some stiffer competition. And I do agree with Gervonta Davis. I don't think Rolly deserves a rematch, even though he's calling for it.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah. Like Tank said, when you get knocked out in that fashion, he's like, I don't think you deserve a rematch. And don't get me wrong, when you have a close fight, and a close fight could just simply be, oh, I got closer. I made it a competition more than it was one-sided. That doesn't necessarily mean you deserve a rematch. You lost the fight. The fight. Arguably, you may have won one round, maybe some may argue 2 or 3 possibly. But it doesn't garner a rematch, definitely, when we know you got knocked out.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. He lost clearly. There's man, you're the back of the line, start fighting some guys. I'm not saying that Tank and Rolly rematch is not out of the cards in the future, but it's not right away. It's not immediate. I think Rolly needs to beat some few guys, probably fight for one of those bullshit belts, regular belt, whatever the fuck, and silver belt. It's garbage. Anyway, and then once that happens, later down the line, maybe him and Tank could do a rematch. It'll be bigger on pay-per-view now, because now it's like, well, hey, I want more fights. I knocked out more guys. Blah, blah, blah. Assuming Tank is undefeated at that point, it'll just be even bigger. But I don't know if you caught, though, man. And we're keeping it with the trend of sports listeners, but Colin Kaepernick, he's making his ways back into the NFL, apparently. He just had a workout with the Las Vegas Raiders, formerly known as the Oakland Raiders, for those who don't know. Well, the Las Vegas Raiders owner was definitely entertaining idea for the workout. The workout happened, and according to reports from online like CBS Sports or ESPN, et cetera, they're stating that Kaepernick actually had a good workout. Now, after that was it. It wasn't said like, oh, it looks like he's a shoe-in to be the backup quarterback of the team. But it seemed like it was positive news saying like, hey, the workout went well. We were happy with what we've seen from him. So this is a step in the right direction for Kaepernick, but I wonder what the end goal is for Kaepernick, and I wonder what the end goal is for the Las Vegas Raiders. And also, apparently, other teams were entertaining the idea of him working out with them as well.
That's, I mean, that's super good, especially if the Raiders, as well as Kaepernick thinks that the workout went pretty well. I'm not sure what the end goal would be here. Ideally, I would think maybe they're looking to pick up a quarterback out for so long. I'm not sure exactly what his end goal would be. If it's, hey, I want to come back and play for a few more years, or if it's just, hey, I want to just at least to be able to say, hey, some team picked me up after all the controversy, so on and so forth. But either way, I'm in support of this. It looks like it, in comparison to what some have always considered to be more turbulent times when he's tried to do workouts, whether it was when he had his own demands or the teams had their own demands. It seemed like this they kind of fell right in the middle where it's like, hey, this works out perfectly for both of us. So I don't know what's to come, but I surely would love to see Cat back in football if that's what his goal is. I'm in full support of it.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me if that's what he wants to do. That's that man's that's his life, that's his choice, that's his ambition and his goals. Who are we to be like, no, you can't do this or you shouldn't do that? So if he had a good workout, as what they say with the Las Vegas Raiders, excuse me, good for him. Good for him, and hopefully it works out. If he does get on the squad, he'll definitely be the backup because they just gave Derek Carr a new contract and he's going to be QB1 unless he gets injured at some point of the new season. Kaepernick will be on the bench, but that's a lot better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also like when you take that much time off, is it makes more sense for them to maybe have you come off the bench at least initially, as well as like if you've already paid a quarterback, enough money, and you already have someone. It's always good to have someone like him as a backup. And who knows, maybe Cap may end up using that to maneuver into a different. Maybe if he might stay on the bench one season, but maybe get picked up by another team. So who
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, there's always more to come. But yeah, but outside of just like the whole thing with Cap and everything, I'm not sure if you had a chance to listen to it or listen to any of the songs, if any. Jim Jones and Maino, they finally put out their album Lobby Boys. I had a chance to listen to it, and the majority of the album to me sounds like a bunch of classic hip hop beats, whether it's, and when I say classic, I'm talking like late 90s, early 2000s, Jay-Z, that era, Jay-Z, Murder Inc., that era. They did a lot of flipping the beats and making them more modern. You have features with Benny the Butcher, Dave East, Fabulous, Fabio Foreign, as well as a handful of other rappers. Did you have a chance to listen to any of it?
So I saw the album on Apple Music because every Friday there's new rap releases. So I always like to check Apple Music for that. And I saw it, I downloaded the album, and I see Benny the Butcher was one of the highlighted songs. So I checked it out, I listened to it, and I like the song with Benny the Butcher. Now I'm gonna be honest, I didn't listen to the rest of the album, but I will go back and listen to it. And I'm gonna be honest again. I'm not the biggest Maino fan. I'm just not. I never thought he was that great to me, but I'm willing to give it a chance because maybe he'll grow on me just like how Jim Jones did. Because for the longest, I never thought Jim Jones was that great, especially like during the Max B era. I was
Yeah.
always I was always a Max B guy, but lately Jim Jones has grown on me because I feel like he's been rapping the best he's ever rapped in his entire life to me. So because of that, I'll tune in, and I'll go into it with an open mind. With I'm not going to set I'm not gonna set the expectations. Going to be like, oh, this is crap. I'm gonna give it a real chance. But I did hear that Benny song, and I like the Benny song. I think it's dope. It kind of, for me, it's looking like Benny is starting to get even more like love and recognition, because not only he's doing features where artists like J. Cole, but he's also doing it with more established artists like Jim Jones and Maino. Those at least those are established guys from New York, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, I think that definitely is like one of the things that is showcased when it comes to someone like Benny, um, being it because he's super universal. I mean, you have in one sense you have what Burden of Proof has a Lil Wayne feature, which is
and Big
su-
Sean too.
Big Sean, hard features to come by for most art for the regular artists. And then you go from that to Tana Talk for which you have J. Cole. So it I think it's kind of dope to be able to see him being versatile enough to do features with those type of artists and those songs still be hot and still kill while at the same time being able to go to artists like Jim Jones and Maino who they've been around forever. They've been around forever, established artists, just not as big of artists as like the other artists I named Big Sean, Lil Wayne, J. Cole, so on and so forth. But I will say this: I did have a chance to listen to this album. I think this album was pretty good in terms of what my expectations were. I'm similar to you. I've never been a big Maino fan.
Okay.
But I will say I think he rapped pretty well on this album. Of course, Jim Jones. I Similar to your opinion. I've always been a fan of Jim Jones, but Jim Jones in the past 4 or 5 years, especially on this album, I think his rapping is better on some of his I think his rapping is better on some of his previous albums, especially like El Capo, for instance. Uh,
Okay.
but this, to me, I think he still was able to rap pretty well. To be honest with you, the real highlight of this album to me is that they're really taking these old rap beats. There's a couple of Jay-Z beats. They do the Dragon beat, which they flip that, and I think that's the one I sent to you. They flip that Dragon beat, and they had Fabio on that. So I don't know. To me, I think they did a good job at what they were trying to do, and I'm glad it's not under the guise of, oh, we're making a drill rap album. Like
Yeah.
it's a rap album that has drill beats on it. Flips of hip hop beats that we all grew up on during like our tens and teenage years. But overall, I definitely suggest to listen to it. I think you might like some of it. Not everything may not be for you, but I think you might like some of it though.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Like I said, I downloaded it. If listeners, I know this might sound like very surface level or very like dark, like I don't know, however you want to say it, but if I download something to my Apple Music, that means I literally plan to listen to it. I listen to music every day. And sometimes I probably listen to music so much where people are like, yo, you listen to a lot of music. And I don't know. It's just one of the things that I like. I could be playing PlayStation, working on homework for college, or that's just me. So yeah, I definitely plan on listening to it. I have high no, not high expectations, but I'm going to keep an open mind. But Spence,
Yeah,
will you keep an open mind for this new Winnie the Pooh movie that that Disney is not doing?
absolutely, man. Listeners, if if you haven't heard about it over the past week, or if you're not familiar with what Lyle's bringing up, he's bringing up that there is a horror film being made called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Um, there's a lot of mixed reactions to the trailer that's came out recently. But it looks like we're getting a Winnie Pooh horror film, which who knows the depths in which it can go. But in so many words, I'm excited for this because I think far too often we end up getting these remakes of an old movie or old show, or them just trying to recycle or rehash something that's been done before. I'm glad that they at least brought a twist to this. It's because to be honest with you, I think if it was just the standard of Winnie the Pooh like we've had before, I don't really think there would be a need for making a movie because I don't there's nothing tragic to that capacity in Winnie the Pooh. But making this a horror film, I'm curious to see this because to me, I think the thing I'm more excited to see outside of just Winnie the Pooh himself are the other characters because whether it's the donkey, I forget his name,
Eeyore, yeah.
Eeyore, Piglet,
Piglet,
Tigger,
Tigger, yeah.
like that. To me, I wanted to see that whole cast. Even the Winnie the Pooh in that film looks it looks a little spooky. I'll put it that way in comparison to the fun loving Winnie the Pooh we all grew up on. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I did check out the trailer, and my thing is, I don't think it's going to be what a lot of people are expecting. My opinion is it's going to be a horror film. It might be like a slasher film, kind of like Jason, Freddy Krueger, whatever the fuck. But they're going to use the tagline Winnie the Pooh to garner attention and garner the interest to see what the fuck is going on. From watching the trailer, I don't know if it's really going to really have much to do with Winnie the Pooh. I'm going to be honest, because unless they start doing elements of like, oh, there's schizophrenia in it or whatever, because I don't know if you heard, but there's always been like a conspiracy theory, quote unquote, that the little kid that's surrounded by Winnie the Pooh and all the other animals, he actually is schizophrenic. Is that none of them are really there type shit.
Yeah.
So if it's something, if they add elements of like that, not just schizophrenia but other shit, then I think it could make it more interesting. But if it's just a guy in a costume and he's going around killing people, then to me it's just a slasher film, and I don't know how excited I'll be to watch a slasher film, because to me slasher films, they're not really great on story unless you're into like blood and guts.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I mean, don't get me wrong, though the film I think of is a classic, but even like in a sense, I don't want Winnie the Pooh to be a character that's like Jason. Like,
yeah,
like I don't want just Winnie the Pooh just popping up out of places trying to kill people. Like I hope there is some type of storyline, whether it be something from like you said, like the fan theories that they have about the schizophrenia, or just any other fan theories about the show. I think that would be super cool. The dawn of internet in like the more recent years, i.e., like the past 10 to 15 years, where blog spaces have become much more popular and YouTube and so on and so forth. You do see where a lot of fans end up creating these different their own fan theories or character theories of shows. So hopefully they've pulled from them, whether it's the Reddits or YouTube videos or blog spaces. But I will say this, I will be seeing this. I just hope it's not a slasher film, like you said. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but Tennessee, apparently they made a law in 2020. Pretty much it's against the law to loiter into like the state properties, state-owned properties, i.e. like parks, basketball courts, those type of things that most people most of the time people go to. But they made this law back in 2020, from my understanding. And what's happening now is they're enforcing this law, which is primarily seems to be targeting what some people believe is going to be targeting homeless people. And the result of breaking this law is a felony. So what seems to be happening is, once with this law being passed and being enforced, these people that are living on the street essentially in the state of Tennessee, they could possibly become a felon just because of their current living situation.
Listeners, and especially the sofa politicians, because you know there's a lot of them, online politicians, never studied politics a day in their life. So for those listeners, maybe you can pull out the proper verbiage and terminology of this law, bill passing, whatever the fuck. But if we're looking at it at a surface level, or we're just going to call it what it is, it's fucked up to target homeless people and then, hit them with felony charges. And then you're fucking up their life even further. It's already bad enough that they're in poverty. They don't got a roof to stay. They're hunting for scraps of food. And now you're going to make them felons. It's kind of like you're punishing them even further for whatever they got going on. And I think that's fucked up. Now I get it. You don't want to have people on property that doesn't belong to them, especially like, just leaving trash and leaving shit around. But I feel like if you're going to put out a law like that, you have to have things in place that takes care of people that like homeless people. You got to take care of homeless people because you'll see homeless people sleep in the parks or sleep in front of these buildings or whatever because they don't have a fucking home. And I think that's fucked up if there isn't in place and something to help take care of those guys. And essentially it just kind of to come off as kind of like, well, fuck them. We'll make more money off of them throwing them in prison or jail, whatever the fuck. So fuck those guys. Da da da. And I don't know. I don't like it. Like I said, this is just surface level. One of your online politicians, you guys probably have a more in depth and could break it down. And while you breaking it down, Spence and I, we won't give a fuck. We're gonna move on with our day. So
even though that is bad news in its own right, another bad thing in terms of entertainers, we recently lost the beloved actor Ray Liotta. Most people know him whether you watched the movie or if you've just seen it in memes, which most people that are of a younger age probably have. But he's mainly known for his role in the film Goodfellas. It's kind of upsetting. He did act in a few other movies as well, but Goodfellas, for me, I know Goodfellas is the movie that holds the closest to me when it comes to out of his body of work. But yeah, this was unfortunate.
Yeah, most definitely RP Ray Liotta. There's two things I want to say about it. Yes, we do. He's obviously most known for his film work at Goodfellas, but I don't know if you knew this, Spence. He voiced the main character in Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Really?
Tommy Vercetti. Yep, that was Ray Liotta. He acted that role, and yeah,
wow.
He was the main protagonist of that game, at least voice wise. So
that's crazy.
That was him. Yeah. So not only listeners, he did movies, he did shit like that. So that showed what kind of range he had in his career. So shouts out to him. And the second thing I wanted to say was reportedly he passed away in his sleep. So yes, RIP, and it's definitely sad that he did pass away at 67, but at least he passed away in a peaceful way and not something crazy like car accident or drugs, because that's common too. So him passing away in his sleep is the most peaceful way that any person could go, man, woman. But what I will say though is, instead of mourning his life, do a celebration of his life. He has a catalog where people could go back, tune into, and enjoy themselves. People like me who like to play video games, we could go back and play Grand Theft Auto and hear the voice. So, RIP Ray Liotta. Condolences to his family, fans, friends, and supporters.
Definitely, if you have a chance, sit back, prop your feet up, play Vice City, or go watch Goodfellas or anything else from his catalog. Yeah. I think that's yeah. I think that it kind of reigns true as to doing as much as you can while you're here, because once you're gone, whatever the work that you've left behind will live forever. Send my condolences to Ray Liotta and his family. But speaking about like people dying, like actors or entertainers dying, I'm not sure, but we all are familiar with Mac Miller passing away a few years back.
Yes, RIP.
Yeah, RIP to Mac Miller, and love and condolences to his family. But I'm not sure if you saw, but the dealer that served him the fentanyl, I think it was like fentanyl, I believe he
Yeah.
was sentenced to 17 and a half years as well. Just wanted to highlight that if it was something that we may have missed.
No, we definitely RP Mac Miller, definitely gone before he should have been gone. You had a prick that took advantage of his struggles, and rightfully so. He should be locked up for a long time. I'm pretty sure the most devoted Mac Miller fan probably believe the guy should have got life, but
Probably.
17 years is a large chunk of a person's life, especially if they're already an adult.
Yeah, nah, it's a huge chunk of that's a huge chunk of somebody's life. But outside of that, though, I don't really have much more to say. Was there anything else you had to say from your end?
No, far as like shit to talk about on this episode right now, no, I think we kind of covered everything the week, far as like in the world of entertainment and news, besides the unfortunate killings of the 19 children and the 2 adults in Texas. Definitely rest in peace to all those children and the 2
Definitely.
adults. Um, definitely shouts out and condolences to all the people affected of that community, because it's still a big deal and things are still ongoing with it. But outside of that tragedy, um, there hasn't been like a whole lot of big highlights of the week. I'm pretty sure the next couple of weeks will. With that being said, listeners, the next episode is episode 100. We'll be taking a little bit of time off, not like a big hiatus, but we need time to kind of plan episode 100. We don't want episode 100 just to be like a normal episode. We kind of want it to be a little bigger. So you never know, listeners. We may have a guest, we may not have a guest, but we want episode 100 to be a good episode. So we may take a week or two off before then. What I will say to follow that is make sure you follow us on the Highly Advised Podcast on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at the Highly Advised Podcast, and make sure on Twitter follow us at Advised Highly. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment us, DM us. We're very friendly to talk to. If you hear something on the show that you didn't like, let us know. Maybe it's something that we could improve on, because we always want to improve. We don't want to be stagnant and stay the same. Or if you want to just shoot the shit, crack jokes, chit chat, hit Spencer Naja up, because with me, I'm gonna put you on the block. So
He's not
shouts out,
lying.
shouts out to all, shouts out to all the listeners. Shouts out to everybody that supported us from episode 1 all the way to episode 99 to eventually episode 100. We're gonna come back full force. We knocking you motherfuckers out. And that's pretty much it, man. Spencer, you have any final words before we close it down for this episode?
Man, only thing I got to say is drink your water, be safe out here, protect yourself. I know there's been a lot of talks in the news of this new thing with monkeypox. But that's a whole nother conversation in its own right. So just be safe out here. Don't be silly. The rest of that. But other than that, I don't have much to be said. Not much more to be said from me. With that being said, you've been highly advised. We'll catch you on episode 100. Like my co-host said, that will be coming pretty soon. Give us a couple weeks. We want to make sure something special that you guys will love. And all in all, I want to thank everybody that's listened to us from 1 to 99. If you came in at 98, or if you came in at episode 1, still got nothing but love and support for you. And like Lau said, leave a comment, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, you've been highly advised.
Shasha.
Just